about 6 o'clock on Thursday, April 17th, my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. All right, so we're going to call a regular meeting to order. First thing, set adjust agenda, which is already extremely long. Are we changing anything?
Didn't we need an executive session for a legal matter? No, we're not going to deal with that right now. No.
We can.
Okay.
You want to wait? We can do it. It could be quick.
Sure.
You'll only
Sure.
have the three of you. Guess that's fine.
Oh. All right, let's not do it.
'Cause
We'll do it next time.
Good idea.
There's no urgency.
I say we strike all the odd items from the agenda.
I like that idea.
Are we removing number 1 or not? We doing that or no?
Yeah. I think I can give them yeah, keep it on there.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're gonna roll with the agenda as written. Communication from the audience. Anybody here to discuss anything that we don't have an item for? I don't think so. All right. Next, select board approved minutes from last time, which was April 3rd.
I can motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second, sorry. Yeah.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's all of us. Motion carries. Next up, town manager report.
Okay, I'll make this quick for time purposes. So, due to the oil spill at 9 Main Street, the environmental review for the Vermont Huts potential purchase is delayed until they figure out the findings and do the environmental assessment on 9 South Main Street.
Oh, jeez.
So they've asked for an extension to their real estate option agreement
Yep.
until the end of the year.
Okay.
I've granted the extension,
Okay.
so we just have to sign that. So we're pushing that back.
Okay. Do you want a motion of the select board to sign that when we get to it, or?
I was just gonna sign it.
Okay, you're gonna sign it?
Yeah.
Good.
It's just, I signed the last one, just a real
Yeah.
estate option.
Yep.
You've already authorized me
Yes.
when we went through the sale.
Great. Thanks
So
for taking
it's
care of
just a
that.
continuation of another project.
Yep.
Okay, so we don't have a notice to proceed on the pedestrian bridge yet. USDA has been provided all the documents, and they're questioning whether the total amount of the project needs to be provided in the municipal project budget or the monthly project budget report, which is what we had to submit. So they questioned whether the whole $3,100,000 needs to be tracked in the bridge project, so the whole project. So we're waiting on that response. In the meantime, we got a letter today from USDA stating that the $200,000 worth of RBDG money is going to be clawed back if we don't spend it in 60 days. We've sent documentation that we requested an extension for that, and the extension was granted, but we think they're saying it was the community facilities grant and not the RBDG grant. And they said that's by statute a 5-year period. They de-obligate the money after 5 years. So more to come on that. So that's $200,000.
If they would give us notice to proceed.
Right.
We could depend it.
This all happened today.
Yeah, no,
So-
just
Yeah,
thinking.
so-
If they give us notice to proceed, we probably could get it spent.
Yeah, I'm gonna have that conversation. Our community development coordinator, Tracy Martin, sent a great email today back to them, responding to their letter with documentation that we had, that Casey had in the grant folder. So it's just, we'll waddle through it.
Yeah.
And then hydrant flushing, I sent out a text today. I don't know if anybody got it. They'll be flushing hydrants starting Monday until Friday. So annual hydrant flushing. That's all I got.
So I'm gonna ask a question that I should know the answer to.
Yeah.
if I'm on the email list for notifications and you send a text,
Yeah.
do I get an email?
I didn't send out an email, but maybe I
So it would
probably
be
should.
separate.
Yeah. We're just counting on the text messages, but that's a good point.
Got it.
That's a good point.
So if some people were assuming that because they were getting the emails that
Yep.
they were getting everything, you should also sign up for text.
Well, no, everybody that signed up for an email alert, that number has been migrated over into text. The number that you provided
Yeah.
in the emergency notification email
Yeah.
form, that number was taken and put into Text My Gov, so you should get it.
But you only get one.
Unless I send out an email, which I can do, which is a good point.
Okay,
So,
I'll have to figure out why I didn't get it.
Yeah,
Because I do get emails.
me too.
Maybe I didn't put my number in.
You're saying you basically get one or the other. Like if you send a text.
you,
or something.
well, you could, if I send out an email, then you could get both. But I just sent out
I
the
didn't
text.
get an email, but I got the text.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
But I'm not signed up for the email.
Okay.
Because
Right, because you opted in.
got it.
Yeah, there's two
All right.
lists
Okay,
that I work off from,
Gotcha.
so I'll check and make sure. But this, we're working out the kinks, it's a great question.
Thank you.
Yep.
thank you. Any other questions for Opie? Road foreman report, other than being sick, what's going on, Tom?
Let's see, grading wise, we're getting pretty well caught up. We got Hardwick Farms area completed that way. I think the week before we were over towards, Mountain View that way. We ended up getting, Hopkins Hill area done, like Macville and all that end there. I know today, the guys were starting up on West Hill area. Then we'll continue over through there, then hopefully next week, if weather holds good there, we should be able to get Bridgman Hill area covered. We're not doing like the little teeny side roads, we're trying to just hit our main drags right now, the main thoroughway. I know we had a couple guys down the sewer plant, or 3 guys down there for a couple days, working along the fence line there, trying to get the ditch back down through there and stuff.
Yeah, they got a little clogged with flooding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been down there, trying to think what the heck else. We had a water problem up there on, North Main that we had to deal with. We had another one down on Spring Street. Another meter problem up on Woodbury Street. I don't know, did you fill them in on the reservoir on that signal thing?
The dialer?
Yeah.
No, but I can.
But, you should fill them in on that, because supposedly all that system now is all obsolete, so.
The cell phone
He
dialer?
he found a part on eBay, I guess. And it worked, so he reprogrammed it, so that might be something to start thinking about, that we might have to upgrade the signal for that.
Yeah.
Pearlie's truck right now is down to the doctors, down to Charlie Boys. We've had an oil leak on it since this winter. It wasn't serious, so we just kept an eye on it, because every time we made an appointment down there, of course, and snow, we get storm and everything else. So that's down there now, getting fixed. That should be being put in on Monday, I believe. And then next week, Barry's truck will be going down to Vikings, where his tailgate is, where there's an air canister on the back that controls the opening and shutting of it to keep it locked. Well, the whole back of it's all completely rotted out. So they're gonna cut out all the junk out of it and weld a new piece into it, remount the canister in the back of it and stuff. That's about it. Hope we already hit on the hydrant flushing for next week. So then we got MSHA class coming up here the following week, and we're starting summer hours starting on the, where are we? On the 28th. So that'd be going to 4-day week then. So
It seemed like roads were, at least the roads I hit this spring were really very good. And
they weren't too bad. The only really bad spot that we had was out on Stratton Road. We ended up putting some stabilization fabric out there just to seal that up, because every time Pearlie was trying to push stuff in, he was just sinking out. So we put some stabilization fabric down, then we put some stone on top of that to heal that up. And the only other problem I had was that over on Hardwick Farms there, where we tried that stay mat. I think it was last Wednesday, last Thursday maybe. We hauled like 15 loads of the grindings that we had for when they did, North Main near the blacktop. So we tried putting some of that down to it, see if we couldn't bind it up a little bit and stuff, so hopefully right now it's holding okay, so, but,
It was fine this morning.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just turning to slime,
Yeah.
so,
Well, it's a wet spot and they're big trucks that go on it, so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right,
about
thanks.
it.
Do we know when the street cleaning's gonna happen yet?
You mean the sweeper?
Yeah.
We haven't heard from them yet, Sherry, but we are on the schedule for it. They know that it has to be done before Memorial Day.
And
And then if weather
that has
holds,
to happen before the crosswalks get done?
no, we can do that before. I already got the paint for it. I ordered all that last fall.
Okay.
So we would have it here. So I got 20 gallons of that red. So that should do everything in town here. So we're all set on the paint and stuff and everything. We just
Great.
weather breaking, so.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, next up is Hardwick Police Department report, given by Mike Henry.
So Joe Donna is just had another week of training. Last weekend he did some field training as well. On top of that, so he's really putting the hours in right now to get himself up and going, which is great. I just grabbed a couple of stats for him. Just take one, pass it down. You can take one. Good. Takes time.
Oh,
There's two there.
Same.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize there were that many.
So just looking at the incidents year long, last year compared to this year, just looking at the differences between the two, it's pretty much the same. Complaints are up. I think we had 20. Let me see the one at the bottom. 2,400 last year, and now this year we're at 2,700.
oh, sorry. Oh, gee.
2,700.
Yeah, there's two.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, so 2,438
This year.
last year at this time, and then this year, we're up to 27, 15 for total complaints.
Oh, I got to see it.
So, just listed the top 10
I got somebody's.
things that we're
Tim's.
dealing with. And fingerprints are up big time, so we're doing a lot of fingerprints for schools, nurses, and other health professionals that need it. The other thing I was just going to throw out is just our, what we've got for arrests. Our arrests are actually down this year. Let me just take that and pass it down. I'm not sure. But just showing, again, the top 5, what we're finding. The top 5. So that's,
23, 24.
yeah.
Yep.
So you guys just have to look at that, and make sure you got it right. You know, not too much difference up there, is
No.
what's going on, but less crime. I guess that's better.
No.
As far as the criminal complaints go.
Mike, is parking problem, is that also, like, if people park for too long or park in the wrong spot, that's like considered, that's a parking
No,
problem?
we don't deal with the 2-hour parking ban.
Okay, so it's just like if somebody parks during the winter ban, if somebody
Winter
parks
ban, or, you know, mainly out in front of Positive Eye where the truck is
in the, like, no
playing.
parking.
In the
Parking
intersection.
zone, the intersection. And we did have future winter ban as well.
And we've been getting tickets out for that, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else, any other types of stats you guys are looking at, but even though complaints are up, we're up with like service call stuff, like I say, the fingerprints are, been, what, 100 more than last year?
And where does that revenue show up? If that, ends up just being like miscellaneous revenue?
Police ticket and miscellaneous revenue is a line.
So it looks like last year we had some, I assume these are the top 5 on the rest.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so last year we had some burglary 13,
Right,
or is that 13 VSA?
13 BSA.
Okay, and then this year we've had petite larceny and retail theft.
Right,
looks
Yeah,
like.
so some more minor,
Okay,
theft
so
arrests.
burglary is a more major
Yes.
thing than I suppose petite is small, so.
yeah.
It's a dollar amount.
Got it. Okay. And retail theft is that dollar amount or is that just?
That's
anything
just
for
in
retail
general.
establishment?
That's retail establishment.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. That's it.
That's it? All right. We still on track to do our communications radio repeater thing? Whenever.
We are.
Half of it's been ordered, right?
Half of it is in right now.
Oh,
Yeah. It's all been ordered. They're just waiting on, I want to say it's the voter box they're waiting on. Then everything else will be ready. They'll schedule it and get it going.
great. All right.
Thanks for listening.
Next up, Hardwick Electric Department report. Miles Cashmer Cole is here.
Hello, everyone. I know General Manager Sarah sent a bunch of materials over, so there are a lot of things going on at HED, and you all can read about them, but it'll take a lot of time today. I think the two big ones are one, VITSA is helping us file our long-term plan, the integrated resource plan that we do, I believe, every 3 years. That's in progress right now, should be filed at the end of the month. That's where we think big and we think strategically about things like battery storage, so that'll be exciting. And then a long time coming, there has been a rate case filed with the state's Public Utilities Commission to increase rates across the board by 13.24%. Voted to approve that on Monday night. I think it was filed today. The Public Utilities Commission will use that, and if all goes ahead, those rates would be implemented June 1. Again, this has been discussed for quite a while, and I think a lot of the cost drivers are the same things that the town experiences generally, like the cost of labor, and then other things like the cost of purchased power. So power that Hardwick Electric buys to distribute keeps getting more expensive as all things get more expensive.
Well, is a part of that extra cost because we don't have the Wookett Dam providing more of our own power?
I think
What
so.
is
I couldn't tell you how much, but it has been deemed necessary to balance the budget. And yes, when Wokett's not generating, we buy more power.
Right, and that's more, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions for Miles? And work on Wolcott still proceeding?
It is.
Yep.
RFQ is out for people to do feasibility study on all those repairs.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item 1, select board to review, approve, and sign the MCRI loan documents for Hardwick Electric.
So we received the request to sign, for the board to sign the loan documents for, this is for flood repair, FEMA repair, reimbursement. We've submitted all the documents to Ed, Adrian, our attorney. He's reviewed them all. And there's one outstanding document that we got, we've been back and forth all week with Hardwick Electric. And there's the opinion, the unqualified opinion letter that Ed wanted to see from Eli. And Eli sent correspondence today back to Beth saying that he hasn't drafted the letter yet and will do it before he submits for the closing. So we don't have that letter. And Ed suggested that we could do two things. We could not sign the documents and delay their filing for the loan, or we could give Eli a week to produce the letter after signing the documents, or both, not sign the documents and obviously wait to see the letter. So the ball is in your court. It's similar to the other loan they took out for anticipation of FEMA funds. It's for $300,000 and change to do repairs on 3 locations that were damaged by the flood. So it doesn't require voter approval at this time, like a full-blown bond vote.
So to pick it back to them, we have our next meeting is May 1st, which is even, that's only 2 weeks away.
We would probably have to have a special meeting in order for them to meet their deadline.
And Eli, just to clarify, is their lawyer,
Correct.
so they don't.
Well,
their
he's our
lawyer's
lawyer,
not
too.
doing their- Okay.
Well,
I'm
Without
just
getting-
trying to figure out why.
Without getting into it.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's prepared the documents, and it's been a back and forth,
Except for one.
except for the one that was requested by, I mean, Ed requested several documents, and we provided, they've mostly provided all of them, except for this one unqualified opinion letter.
so Ed's recommendation is,
To give Eli 5 days to produce a letter.
so let's do that.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion for that?
Nope.
Okay, 5 days.
And you'll organize us so we can do a special meeting when all the documents are ready.
Great.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So next, item 2, Diane Grinko's here to give us a quarterly update on the library.
So we've moved over here for the next 2 weeks at least, while the new building is being finished and the old building, we moved everything, over the weekend, we moved everything out of the old building into the new building temporarily, just in boxes. So the floors could be refinished, so that's happening right now. Top Notch is doing it. Casey, can you?
Sure.
I took some pictures today to show you guys how it's moving. So that's 2 coats of varnish on the floor this afternoon. It's beautiful. And then that's the upstairs, we sanded, he's 2/3 done downstairs, and then he sanded the stairs and the upstairs today.
Looks very nice.
Yeah, so that's coming along.
Linoleum's gone out of vogue since 1960.
Yeah, so the linoleum, I found an article right now, is that it was put down in 1961. And they were really excited about it because it had flecks of turquoise and how beautiful it was going to be, but that's not So, at your March 6th meeting, I know you talked about sending somebody over to our trustees meeting, which I think would be great if any of you or all of you wanted to come. Our meetings are open, and I post the agenda on our website at town. Our minutes are on the website, easy to find. Yeah. So if anybody wanted to come, we don't often get an audience.
We know
Or
how it
do
feels.
we?
Yeah.
Do you want to say when you guys meet?
Oh, yeah, second Tuesday, 5:15.
Okay. And you meet at the library?
Yep,
Okay. Got it.
unless we're here.
Yeah.
And then I
All right, good. And otherwise, the addition is coming along and
coming along, working the kinks out of the HVAC system, and getting things all ready to go.
great.
And are any day with the plan for the opening, for the reopening is, like, goal anyway?
I'm hoping that we'll be soft opening by Spring Fest.
Okay.
That's the goal. And then we're planning a big grand opening party for July sometime.
Great. Thank you. Any more questions for Diane? All right.
The 2 handouts that she had, I'll just put in the meeting attachments with her data for,
Oh, yeah,
that she
those were in our
provided.
packet.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, thank you for that too. Next, item 3, select board to hear the final Better Connections report given by Peter Fairweather. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Andrea Day, who's with DeCrane and did the engineering portion of it, is with me as well, as you can probably see. So given you've got a busy agenda, I'll jump right into the presentation to give you a sense of what's been going on. Andrea reminded me that the kickoff meeting for the Better Connections process was exactly a year ago today. So this is a review of a year's worth of work with the folks in this work. So a quick agenda, introductions, I think we've handled those already. We'll talk about the process that was involved, then go through the findings and recommendations and next steps. And if you have questions, feel free to just jump in and ask along the way. There we go. Introductions. First, I do want to introduce and recognize the steering committee in this process. You can see it's a pretty diverse group of local folks, as well as representatives of the Regional Planning Commission and state government. And this was a very active, engaged, and really a wonderful community to work with. And I'd like to thank them again for their work at this project. They made a huge difference in terms of providing local insight and expertise. So the process was really to identify ways to maintain and enhance the vitality of East Hardwick by improving pedestrian and bicycle pathways, signage, parking, recommending potential village redevelopment projects, identifying improvements in stormwater and drainage. And so we'll talk about those as we go through this. One of the important things was the process itself. This was an extensive public outreach process. We had a community-wide survey in East Hardwick that got 61 responses. There was a village supper on July 29th last year at the Grange Hall, and over 50 attendees. And the second village gathering at Memorial Hall, where you folks are, that had probably about 50 attendees. And that was one where we presented the preliminary ideas and had some great discussions about how to tie down specific recommendations, which you'll see when we go through them. And all throughout this, there was a project website that had meeting notices, drafts, reports, and things of that sort. So there was a pretty robust public involvement process. And here the priorities that came out of the public outreach are entirely not surprising, but I think that speaks to how well the process went. Improved sidewalks, improved infrastructure for water distribution, improved drainage and stormwater management, protect and improve village appearance, connect to the river and to the Lamona Valley Rail Trail, improve housing opportunities, and improve community connections in general, not only physical, but sort of social, how people relate. And what we did is we took these recommendations and then put them in a framework that's used to understand how to revitalize a place, a vibrant place like East Harbor. And there's 4 elements, and I'll just go through those quickly. The bottom, it starts with the foundation, is access and linkages, which accesses how people get to the locations in the community. Linkages are connections between public places and neighborhoods. So the idea is people are able to move around and get where they need to. Second part of the foundation is comfort and image. Comfort is the creation of the physical environment that supports human activity and manages the byproducts of the activity, stormwater, wastewater, etc. Image is the creation of the community image that enables both residents and visitors to feel connected to the place and understand what it offers to them. So if you get that foundation in place, then you can start thinking about uses and activities, uses, the ongoing functions to which land are devoted, activities, the things that happen in and around those uses. And sociability, the quality of the community that makes people feel welcome there and encourage them to interact with others. And that's something where East Hardwick is already strong in that, but we've talked about some ways to enhance that even more. So this is how we arranged the community input we received into the 4 categories. And what I'll do is I'll walk through each of those now, but you can see in each of the blocks corresponding to the quadrant of the circle, there are the issues that we're going to be talking about. So let's just dive right in. First, access and linkages. You can see the issues recommended there. Here are, this kind of sets the context. You know, there are different, even in a small place like East Hardwick, there are different areas. Like there's the emerging arts, tourism, recreational assets associated down by the river. There's the historic commercial core. Then there's the intersections with Route 16, both Cedar Street and Main Street. And then there's also where the convenience store is, what used to be the intersection with school and Route 16. You know, those people using East Hardwick, living in East Hardwick, have to be able to get to those places easily and effectively. So, in terms of the recommendations, one is to replace sidewalks, potentially including streetscape enhancements. And Main Street was the major focus of this, to replace the existing sidewalk with concrete with granite curbing along the existing alignment between School Street and East Church Street. And you can see it mentions also the idea of having sharrows, which are those shared arrows that enable bicyclists to navigate the street safely because they've got kind of an informal lane that they can use. And that's in recognition of the use that the rail trail is getting already, and we expect that to increase, obviously. The other place for replacing sidewalks is Brick House Road between East Church Street and the rail trail. And for the Main Street, you know, we talked about the possibility of not only replacing the sidewalks, but enhancing the streetscape. So the pedestrian experience is stronger. And the report endorses a full streetscape enhancement. You see it shown here with street trees and planting strips and those kinds of things. And the emphasis here is to plan for that with the understanding that it may not be financially, the money may not be there to do the full enhancement, but if we're prepared to do that, it's more likely to happen. We have the flexibility to go ahead as funding becomes available. Also, as part of this access and linkages, reconfigured intersections. One of them is the School Street, Main Street intersection, and the question is, do we remove the water tub or do we go around it? And really the consensus was best to go around it. You can see there's two options that the plan endorses. One is to go north of it, the other is to go south of it. But in any case, it cleans up the intersection, makes it more legible for drivers and safer for both drivers and pedestrians. Brick House Road, Main Street intersection, to clean that up and make it more of a perpendicular intersection consistent with the local motion report that was done a few years ago. So again, that same idea, make it easier to understand both for pedestrians and vehicles so that they, as they approach the intersection, they can treat it appropriately, and again, it becomes safe for everybody. Another reconfigured intersection in the main part of the village, Cedar Street and Main Street intersection, to reduce the width of the intersection, add parking along McPheeters, and this would be public parking, and also there's an opportunity to do stormwater infiltration on the uphill side of that. Also, to enhance the Route 16 gateways. Main Street, we're looking at, we're asking for a traffic study by V-Trans, and it's a suggestion to the select board to make that so we can look at the possibility of reducing speed and maybe making some other enhancements, not only to make it safer, but also make it more inviting for folks. And then Cedar Street, the idea is maybe to have the intersection reconfigured so it's perpendicular to Route 16. So those are the access and linkages recommendations. The next part is the comfort and image. And you can see that we're talking mostly about water, stormwater, and some park enhancements. So the emerging priorities from the community: improve stormwater collection and treatment, provide park areas and river access, maintain and improve the village water system, and consider the need for a village-wide wastewater system in the future if that looks like something that's possible and can help sustain existing neighborhoods and businesses. So water system, the recommendation is the East Hardwick Fire District is working to evaluate the water system, and basically, they've got that in hand, and the recommendation is to continue the work of the fire district to maintain and improve the water quality of their users. Stormwater projects, and there were a variety of them that were identified. Replace the collection system along Main Street, install infiltration at the intersection of Main Street and Cedar Street, which you saw in that diagram previously. Improve the collection along Brick House Road between Main Street and the rail trail. Add stone lining and check dams along Stevens Lane. Upgrade collection and add infiltration along East Church Street. And swirl separators on each side of the Main Street bridge with stabilized outfalls. And there's, again, more detailed information in the stormwater treatment report that was done alongside the Better Connections report. Overlook Park, it's making progress towards the vision developed by Eno. Continued progress is anticipated to occur in the coming year. And so, again, this is another one where it's basically the recommendation is to keep on keeping on. And Eno should continue doing the work it's doing with its partners on Overlook Park. And then wastewater treatment, again, it's something that could be considered as much for existing homes and businesses as for future growth. And there is no hard and fast recommendation in the report for that, but it's something that's highlighted that may be emerging as an issue in the future, and also as funding should it become available for wastewater treatment in a way that's attractive to Hardwick and East Hardwick, having mentioned in this report will help improve the competitiveness of any subsequent applications that are made for wastewater treatment. So, the next now is to look at uses and activities. So this sort of sets the context for this. I hope this is clear. The land around East Hardwick is pretty constrained. Just to give you a sense of how this map works, the flood hazards are in blue and purple, and steep slopes are in yellow and tan. And so, you know, the yellow and the tan is like an ochre color. So that beige color is the unconstrained land. And you can see East Hardwick is where it is because it basically had no other place to go. Much of the land around where the village is already is constrained. So that, I think, sets the context for uses and activities. Emerging priorities, create a coffee shop, maybe small office space, bicycling and fishing related businesses, maintain the gas and convenience store, and use the rail trail to support village vitality by, for example, maybe having food carts associated with it. The other thing I'd point out is we did a market study as part of this, and the idea of bicycle and fishing related businesses really does seem to be a possibility for East Hardwick, just given the demographics of the population in the surrounding area. Specific investments in vitality, recognize the Grange Hall as an important community center for East Hardwick. Getting funding for its full restoration would be an important component in securing the vitality of East Hardwick. It really would create then a year-round solid center. Develop the rail trail head as a major gateway to the village. It's a wonderful opportunity to bring people into East Hardwick, many of whom are in the immediate vicinity, but others who are coming from far and wide. And so here's just a great way for both neighbors and visitors to get to know East Hardwick better and to have opportunities to take advantage of the community. Develop the Overlook Park and pursue other activities for access to the Lamoille River. You know, we weren't able to identify specific places for that, but want to highlight that as an ongoing opportunity to improve and enhance quality of life and recreational activities in East Harbor. And lastly, to explore housing development opportunities with private and not-for-profit developers with a focus on the adaptive reuse of existing buildings. And some of that goes back to that map I showed you where a lot of the land around the village is constrained for various reasons. So a lot of the focus would be adaptive reuse, which could include mixed-use buildings with a store office on the first floor and housing on the floor above. And then village-wide initiatives for uses and activities. One is to adopt the village center district for East Hardwick, and that's really an important step that's underway already, and will enable the possibility to provide regulatory context for East Hardwick that isn't dependent upon the other zones in the town. So in other words, this would be customized to address the needs and opportunities specific to East Hardwick. Lastly, to improve the village's appearance and connectivity to support experience-based enterprises in the village. And what that means, and this is something that Hardwick knows, I think, really well as a community as a whole, the more you get activity and experiences that are pleasant to people in and around your community, whether it's related to food, outdoor recreation, or other things, that creates an impetus for both business growth, the growth of local businesses, and community cohesion in general. So that whole idea of thinking about, all right, how do we support improving and enhancing the experience that visitors have in East Hardwick? Not only because it's a good thing to do, but it also will help support economic activity in the village. So last, sociability, the last quadrant. And we'll talk about emerging priorities here. There's a desire for more community events based on the public input. The idea of preserving the Grange Hall, including fixing the kitchen, was something that emerged in our discussions. Creating public gathering spaces as a place where friends, neighbors, and visitors can relax and get to know the village a little better and get to know the neighbors a bit more. And lastly, maintaining and growing the East Hardwick Neighborhood Organization, which has done really, it was widely acknowledged as an effective leader and spearhead in the activities that are enhancing East Hardwick and could enhance the village in the future. So first, mobilizing the existing assets, the recommended actions. The Grange Hall should be embraced as a community center, and as we mentioned earlier, that idea of getting funding for full restoration will be an important part of continuing the enhancement and vitality in East Hardwick. And also using the rail trailhead to provide information about community events and activities. So it's going to be a wonderful gateway for a whole host of people to come to get to know East Hardwick. Create opportunities for socializing in the street. You know, for example, the development of green space at the site of the former library firehouse could be part of this effort. You know, a small, very much a pocket park, but even just a bench or two there and a few along the street will enhance the ability of folks to socialize, both visitors and residents and neighbors. And community stewardship, last recommendations. How do we keep things going? First of all, recognizing it as a major contributor to sociability in East Hardwick and continue to partner with and encourage, to take on the projects that we've been taking on. Second, create a formal events calendar for East Hardwick. This is a great way to build attendance and interest in activities, again, among not only visitors, but residents. If it's clear what activities are taking place during the year, at what times, then other organizations can start to plan around them, and you start to build a lot of synergy and continued activity and interest in the village. Lastly, celebrate successes. There's a way in which doing any of this work, as you folks know, it requires a long-term commitment. And one of the ways you sustain that commitment is whenever you have a success, big or small, make sure it's celebrated. It could be we've got the flower pots out this year. Let's have a little community celebration of that. We'll have maybe a bake sale or something to go along with that. But that's going to be an important part of this effort, is to congratulate ourselves on getting things both large and small done as a way of reminding us how important East Hardwick is, how valuable it is, and sustaining the dedication to keeping it moving forward. So those are the recommendations. We've also got, and I'm not going to go through this, it's a little busy, but in the report, right after the executive summary, there is an implementation plan, which shows the list of all the recommendations we've gone through, which ones are immediate priority, who are the lead parties for them, which ones are intermediate priority, which is like 3 to 5 years out, and then long-term priority within 6 years of plan completion. So the list is there in terms of which things get done first and who should be involved in them. And this is put forth as a draft. That once the work starts, some items, because of changes in funding or other kinds of constraints or opportunities, might be moved up the list, others might be moved down. But maintaining this and revisiting it every year is just a great tool to, again, keep the momentum going. So that's the presentation. And if there are any questions, we'd be happy to take.
Well, thank you, Peter. I was able to participate in at least part of 2 of the in-person events. I wasn't able to stay for all of them, but thank you for doing that. I think it's really exciting to be getting so much community input for this, and East Hardwick definitely needs a plan. So thank you for all that work. I have a couple questions. I'm not sure if they're for you, Peter, or if they're partially for you, partially for Tracy, in terms of just the better connections, how that works. My understanding is part of why we did this is this will then potentially open up funding for projects. So this is kind of like the first step. Right, that's...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And just to jump in, that's why there are state partners on the steering committee. You know, that they've been involved in the process, and it helps shape the report, and they're the folks that are controlling the money. So it becomes much easier and clearer for them to understand why this is important to East Hardwick and why they should expect applications.
Yeah. And we were able to apply for this because we're a designated village center. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
I have just one thing just to add. So especially I would say the partners, well, no, both partners at ACCD and V-Trans specifically expect us to be coming back to them with proposals for funding some of this. And one really big source of funding, the Downtown Transportation Fund, which we've applied for twice now for the pedestrian bridge, is also available to designated village centers who have gone through the Better Connections process. That's the only way a village center can get that money, is if they've gone through this process. So we would also be potentially eligible to go to that fund, which is a bigger pot of money.
So then, just so I'm understanding the process, so we're kind of wrapping up this process, we're getting, providing feedback, and then the next action would be, I assume, for the select board and the town manager and this group to basically say, okay, what's feasible, what are the priorities, it's complicated in terms of the stormwater and the road and as you mentioned already, Peter, it's steep, like it's not an easy, we're just gonna pave this kind of project. So what I'm imagining is that now there's gonna be work to figure out, okay, what are we gonna ask V-Trans for?
Right.
What are we gonna ask this person for? And then what's like the specifics within that? Is that, I'm understanding that's
right. And
that's why you're coming to us. I feel like then now it's the select board of the town saying, okay, what are we gonna move forward, right?
Right,
Is that,
exactly.
Okay.
The Main Street, Peter, you'll jump in if you think I'm not stating this properly, but the Main Street piece is the most complicated because that's where the main stormwater issues are. Andrew's also on this call, and she's our stormwater expert who did the stormwater plan, which is part of this large report. And the Main Street piece of that is the biggest chunk of it. And of course, there's no point doing sidewalks and then having to tear them up to do your stormwater. So the whole thing is going to have to be integrated into one plan. But V-Trans is aware of that. They've been with us through every step of the way through this. So they're very aware of this. And they've dealt with these kinds of situations before. So probably our next grant would be, so Andrea has done a certain level of design work already. We would go back for grants. Andrea, you may be able to help me with this. Would the next grant most likely be just to finish the design work, or would we get a design/construction grant? Do you have a sense of what's available?
I believe that Kristen is already working on this. And it's usually, there's usually another step in the design process before you get construction
Before we
funding.
get to construction, yeah.
Just jumping in for the idea of Main Street, besides the pedestrian traffic and stormwater, the fire district, one of our main lines run down, basically along there. And we're, as we said, we're just finished our asset management plan with Dufresne, and we're in the process now. We've contracted with them to do a preliminary engineering report on that, one of which is to assess what has to be improved to bring our system back into the 21st century, if you will. And one of our main lines runs right down there. So not only would it be the design for the road and the sidewalk and the stormwater, it would also fold into our engineering report for the water main too. So that's, it's nice to bring all of this together. That's the beauty of this, of all these pieces that were out, and now have a single place to live and coordinate.
So it'll probably be multiple grants funding
Sure,
of
yeah.
the project because there's different.
But it makes sense because you're gonna have to basically get down to the dirt for Main Street.
Exactly.
To then talk about burying the power lines. Why not? You're already doing it. Talk about putting in at least the piping for a sewage option, rather than having to dig it up again, even if you don't hook it up for the next 30 years, like, at least you put the piping in for it. So it's like, that's my big, I guess that's, I think what I'm asking the board is like, we've gotten this presentation, we've gotten some of the community feedback, and then what we, like, how big do we want the project to be? I think if we're gonna do any of it, we have to think big about it. It might take 20 years to do it. It might take 5 years. I don't know, but it seems like an opportunity to do it right if we're going to do it.
And one thing that the plan does include, both parts of the plan are estimates, cost estimates for different pieces of it. So once we have it in front of us, we're still waiting for the final state review of both sections of the plan, and we have a meeting with the clean water people next week. So we don't, this isn't absolutely final yet.
Sure.
But once we have the final version, I imagine we might want to have like a little task force that sits down and figures out, what is the first crop, like how we put these pieces together into a project. But our partners at the state can help us think about that too, because they would want us to do this in an efficient way that's sensible. It's part of our problem, I think, and I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but some of it is kind of critical already, like the wastewater situation is, like, I don't think we can wait 20 years for that, you know what I mean? So like, I do think pieces of it have reached kind of a grace.
Yeah, I mean, sidewalk, we certainly can't wait 20 years ahead.
But this is our first step, and it gets us a long way there because it gives us sort of the pieces of the project as cost estimates, and also Peter has identified potential funding sources for different parts of it.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to add as part of this process is it's got some preliminary estimates, funding sources, and the state agencies are vetting the draft right now. So when it's done, it's going to be something that they know and have basically given the okay to.
Yeah.
So that when the time comes to submit for funding, it's going to be a document that they have basically reviewed already. So I think that really helps in terms of making whatever funding requests come out of this more attractive to the state agencies.
Do we have any update? I'm sorry, I want to do one question. We also have those potential 2 FEMA buyouts in East Hardwick, right, Kristen? We still don't know about those, but there's.
No, they received the funding. It's not FEMA, it's FRCF.
Okay.
It's state funded.
But for those 2 houses on the river there. So that's another, like, interesting development for the project. I guess my only other question is, and it's really more a question for the board and the town, I think, than for the group, but it goes similar to what you just said, Tracy, which is I don't think we can wait 20 years, is I think we're all feeling the uncertainty of what's happening everywhere, especially when it comes to funding. I don't think we can wait on patching the sidewalks and the roads in East Hardwick for another season. So there are culverts with holes in them. I personally walk my 3-year-old son there at least twice a week, and his foot could go into a culvert. I hold his hand to make sure it doesn't happen. But I think that the town needs to commit to doing some quick temporary fixes in East Hardwick to make sure that it's safe for, in particular, the children and the elderly there, knowing that it might be, a couple $1,000s to do that, or not a ton of money, but I do think we need to take that part of the safety of East Hardwick seriously. And there's some other small spots that the planning commission has provided a while ago. So I guess that's just one thing that I'm hoping that the board can talk about. And then also just thinking about that idea of a task force, and if there's potentially no funding in 2 or 3 years, how are we going to continue to move it forward? Is my general question. It's not very necessarily for you all.
Just on that same idea, for instance, reconfiguring the intersections, to do it engineered correctly with everything. Obviously, we're in a major project, but the idea to use, let's say, the concrete parking division, dividers that you could pull up to, putting those in and then filling back on top of the asphalt, almost to delineate some design things, and then just temporarily seeding on top, which might hold for 3-5 years or something, would still give you the green space, still give you the parking space, would still give you the design of that intersection. And if it's wrong, it's an easy fix, to move. And then, say, in 10 years, when the major project wants to go through, we would already have an understanding of that and have these kind of temporary fixes, if you want to do. Much like going through the sidewalk, just repairing it would hold it for a while.
Yeah, taking the dirt off the section by Brickhouse Road, that kind of thing, to make it actually walkable. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Peter, Andrea, for joining us. I especially appreciate the breakout of the projects in the short term, medium term, long term, and also having associated folks the entities that should be responsible, and the potential funding, and the cost, initial cost analysis. All that is really helpful.
Good. And lastly, this is not a situation where we give you the report and then we ride off into the sunset. We're both available as questions come up. You want to talk about, well, what's the role of the task force and how should we organize it, or whatever, you should feel free to reach out. Not a problem at all.
Great.
Can I say one thing? I would just want to thank you both so much. It's been such a pleasure to work with you. I know I don't have to say goodbye right now, but I just want people to know, what a joy you have both been to work with. And, it wasn't always the easiest. We can be a little prickly and everything. But anyway, they were amazing, and it's been a great process. And I thank you both so much. I'm so pleased that we got to work with you.
Yeah, it was a privilege for us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work, Tracy.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So I did ask a question. I don't know if we can answer it tonight, but it would be great to see if we can make some of those temporary fixes this season, like dusting off the dirt on the existing sidewalks, making sure somebody's not going to break an ankle, see what the cost of that is. I think that people would really appreciate it. I don't think it would be particularly expensive.
Hope he's on it.
Kristen has spoken me to remind me to say that we will bring you back. We won't be, presenting again or anything, but we will bring you back the final. It'll be presented to the planning commission for their sign-up, because it's a plan that what they were sort of overseeing. And then we will bring it to you guys for a final sort of stamped up.
Great, thanks.
At a later date.
Okay, excellent. Where are we? Next up is item 4. Kristen's here to give us the flood resiliency update.
I was told to give you only 8 minutes worth of information. Okay, so oh, you're gonna switch with me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. So I put a bunch of folder in your Google Docs. I'm looking at the flood recovery update as the one that I'm gonna just kind of bullet through. There's been there's a lot going on, and do you want to hear from me every month? Does that help you? And then my other question is, with Sherry stepping off of the Planning Commission, thank you so much for all that you've done. Do you want a zoning and planning update every month, every other month of some sort, so that you have a way to know what's going on? I mean, it can be short, I can do it the same night and keep it.
Could we do it the opposite week of the Hardwick Electric Department, since they only come once a month?
So the first meeting of each month?
I was
you're
going to
saying?
say quarterly, maybe.
I was thinking quarterly.
Yeah,
but
plenty.
Well, quarterly maybe for your, for the planning and zoning, but I think the flood recovery, you guys need more. There's so many moving parts.
Ongoing.
It's helpful for me to have the information that you put into our packet.
Yeah, but this is also a way to get other people to know. I've heard from several people that they watch your meetings and they listen to and we're trying to get that information out.
Yep.
And I've already used 3 of my minutes asking you what you want, so.
It's only been one.
We'll put you on a timer.
I'm timing you.
He's timing me. I don't have my do not interrupt. So, I mean, we can try quarterly. I think I'll be back more than that.
Okay. As you wish.
So the 2 pages that I gave you guys, I just wanted to point out, I'm not here to ask for money, Danny. Does that make you happy? But I also wanted to point out that since the flooding in July of 2023, we've had $3.1 million awarded to the town for flood resiliency. Mostly focused on houses, whether elevations or stabilization of banks or buyouts. So we're moving through, but we've been effective in that area. And now we're looking more at the more generalized projects that are working with a lot more houses, wider geographic areas, etc. So the first thing is the EDA grant, and I spelled everything out for you guys, but Economic Development Administration, which is going to be here this summer. They're already starting the work. It's SLR. It was a grant written by somebody else, so it's not included in that $3.1 million. But that is the flood modeling, which is a really big deal. It goes up to the edge of Hardwick, and it goes down the Cooper Brook. And what that means is that we're going to have our base point for other projects. So it means that the feasibility of Jackson Dam can be done for less money because they're going to have that information in place. And it's going to serve as a way to see what could possibly be good ways of spending money to do flood mitigation. So, and that's something that should be done by the end of this year. The money is here, the money is allocated, it's already with LCPC.
LCPC is?
Memorial County Planning Commission.
Okay.
They wrote the grant. The BRIC grant, which is the one I requested the $56,000 for, I submitted it. I got a lot of good feedback from the state. Unfortunately, that has been closed down by the feds. The EM feels, Vermont Emergency Management feels it's a really important project. That's looking at the phased approach to the downtown corridor. They still have it. They are looking for funding. They feel it's critical. But the funding process that we went into is no longer available. So that funding match is no longer necessary. The hazard mitigation grant program was, we had one pre-application that was accepted. It's being worked on by NVDA and River. We'll see what happens. I don't know exactly. The emergency watershed program, we've done that twice. 5 projects were funded in 2024. 3 projects were done in 2023. The part of that is to stabilize the former end by the river location. And so if, depending on what they do for the hazard mitigation grant, if that one goes through and it includes the stabilization, then we won't need to do that. But right now we have that ability. The municipal planning grant was submitted. That's looking at doing a community resilience plan down in Granite Street. Typically, a plan like that would be about $75,000. We're able to write it for $30,000 because we have elements from other plans and working with other groups, including CAE's partners in place. But we're waiting to hear back. There will be a community development block grant, DR, coming up. We've given them the projects. So I know OPZ said something to the effect that it might be the wastewater plant. If not, there's some flood mitigation projects that they were interested in. We have, the Vermont Land Trust has 2 properties in town that are no longer on the river and are no longer viable for agriculture. And we're going to be working with them to see what we can do for flood storage at those locations. Jackson Dam, as I mentioned before, it is, the feasibility study has been funded and they've hired SLR, who is the group that is doing the flood model. So they will be able to come through and do a feasibility of what does it mean to remove the dam, what does it mean to keep the dam, what is that, how does that impact flood resiliency and other aspects.
Great.
Yep. We received funds to elevate properties in the floodplain. That's helped me with identifying, prioritizing 6 properties. Unfortunately, so we did the base flood elevations. We're going to be working with the homeowners over the next few weeks to get memorandums of understanding so everyone's clear on what they need to do to be part of it. Unfortunately, 2 of the properties cannot be elevated due to one property would have to go up 8 feet and one property is in the floodway, which is not something that the state wants to see. And unfortunately, due to the passing of one of the owners, one of the properties is coming off the list. So we're down to 3. So we'll see what happens with those 3. Item business owners in the floodplain, we're going to be either elevating or floodproofing, and so they're working with the DRB. The buyouts, the only thing I was going to let you know is that, so the 2 properties in East Hardwick received MUD funding from FRCF, which is Flood Resilient Communities Fund. That's the second time we received payout from them. That fund opens and closes very quickly, and they made certain that we received the money because of how we worked with them the first time. We established that we could do it quickly and well, and so they made certain that we were able to receive part of it. And I know a lot of the talk at the state level with the questions of FEMA is that they are looking to make that a more robust fund to fund more of these buyouts that are not in the floodplain, and also to provide local matches for hazard mitigation. So that 50,000, and I've said this over and over in any of the meetings I've been in, 50,000 from a town of our size is not feasible, especially when we have so much going on. So the state is definitely looking at how they work with that. Unfortunately, they just don't know how the federal models are going to look. So we're going to be doing an education series at the end of the summer in the library, looking at some of those little more hot topics like dredging, beavers, dam removal, and climatology, having panels of people. I'm working with a couple different organizations to do that. We're hoping to tape it and make it available to other areas. I think it'll be a good way to bring some of those topics that we've had to say we don't have the time for it when we're debriefing about the flooding, etc. I've been doing some Hardwick Gazette articles. I'm going to continue to do that. The stream gauges, I'm working with the Memorial County Planning Commission to put together some kind of approach to stream gauges throughout the Memorial watershed, a low-key approach where it's not necessarily going into the satellite feeds, which is approximately $25,000 a year for operation and maintenance of each of those devices. We do it individually with the stream gauge, like just the manual reading. it's going to be more feasible financially. And they're looking at how to do it with like webcams and solar panels and lights, etc., down in Johnson and moving all the way back. And so we work together so that our information can go to them. And HED has expressed interest in doing it for their dams. So that's a great way to work together as a watershed in a less money intense way. And we'll give more information as we keep going ahead and finding out where the flooding, how much water we need to, where's the water that, we know where the flooding happens, but how fast, and give us some more information as far as how to respond. The last piece is, I gave each of you a booklet for the Neighbor to Neighbor Town of Hardwick, OSSU, and the Civic Standard partnership. That's a really big piece of what we've been doing for 2 years, and it's going to be correlating with the local emergency management plan. There's a lot of excitement about it. We've got a lot of people who've stepped forward after Saturday's presentation who want to be part of the volunteer groups, and we've got some people who don't necessarily usually want to be part of town volunteering, who want to be part of this, to be ready for the next emergency, flood, whatever, to provide volunteer response, to do communications with helping the town itself, because when we're in the middle of an emergency, the staff has limited capacity. We're maxed. And having a volunteer that can help put out a review of what's going on, or help us gather which roads are out, is going to be really helpful. And then emergency shelter and then supply and support. So we're collecting information this whole month, and I see how to implement it with the local emergency management plan. This is pretty big. This is a lot of energy, a lot of positive response, and it seems to, in a really partisan time, to really cover all the different avenues of life. A lot of excitement on that. So I hope you get a chance to read through it and make comments, because it is in the draft form. And there's parts that we're still working on. There are bigger towns working on stuff like this, but there are bigger towns with a lot more population, a lot more disposable income, a lot more staff. This is the rural version. And that's it.
Yeah, it's looking good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for the list of properties that was in our folder too. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have had that one before.
Yeah, it's good to see. Questions for Kristen?
Well, I just want to really, as Eric said, thank you. It's really comforting to know that you're helping us navigate all this, and it's a true testament to your work and care for the town. It's really amazing to see that. I really appreciate seeing the updates and seeing the money related to it and what needs to match and what doesn't. This really helps paint like a bigger picture for all of it. So thank you.
We've really been able to tap into that 100% on a lot of things.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of that, but that's why we need to start thinking about how to have the project.
We've got about $4 million in FEMA money that
Yeah.
has come into the town as well.
Yeah, I didn't include that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's beyond what I was talking about.
Yeah. Thank you. There's 11 minutes, by the way.
We can talk for one of those, so.
Okay, I'll give you a credit for one.
Next is item 5, select board to appoint alternate number 1, Cole, to the planning commission for 1 year, left on a 3-year term expiring June 2026. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Can you second that?
Thank you. Any discussion? Cole is willing, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, select board to consider approving a manufacturer's tier 2 cannabis license for the Magician's Kitchen, existing location, taking over for Tilia Processing LLC.
Love these names.
I know, they're very clever.
I make a motion to approve the manufacturer's tier 2 cannabis license for the Magician's Kitchen.
Somebody want a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? We had all the information from the state. Yeah. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, Item 7, select board to consider approving the purchase of a new trailer to be used for transporting town equipment. We had some quotes in our packet, and I
Have to be an emergency lock on it installed. I think Tom got some rough estimates of cost to repair.
Yeah.
And we have a place that we could bring the trailer to repair it. It needs new tires, 8 new tires, I think. Yeah, there's 4 tires on each side. And probably some minor light stuff, but mainly it's the brake system, the braking system.
So what was that estimate to repair?
Without actually looking at it, it was between 10 to 15,000.
And this trailer is used to carry and transport concrete blocks in the event we need to move that around equipment, and then basically our excavator.
And is our current trailer, I mean, is it suit our needs if it were repaired?
We've had it for the last.
He basically told me today, basically the trailer is more or less red tagged right now, because he said it wasn't an option. You know, like he said, they give us leeway on stuff, but he said there is no leeway on the emergency braking system. So,
Never had one.
right, it's never had one. So in order to install one on there, from my understanding, talking to him today about doing the repairs and stuff, the entire braking system on it has to be completely redone.
Yeah.
Because as it is right now, it only, the way the braking system works, once you unhook your hoses and stuff, the brakes will lock up on it, so the trailer won't move. Right now, as it is, the way it's set up, it almost has like canisters on it that are like on your front brakes on a dump truck. So in other words, it free rolls back and forth. So he said that's not negotiable on that part. So to upgrade the brakes and get them back where they were, the tires, redo, you know, the air system and stuff on it, upgrade that a little bit and do a little electrical work. That's a rough estimate without looking at it. It was between 10 and 15,000.
Which is about half the cost of a new trailer.
Correct.
So that's why I wondered, I know I've had trailers where I just wanted a reason to get rid of them because they were getting rusty and they didn't suit my needs anymore or whatever, but is that the case with this one, or like, is it,
Well,
like you put money into it,
I
you're gonna
think-
get another 10 years out of it?
I think the case on this one, Eric, is that, you know, Opie wanted us to get us something new. You know, we were talking about, we had 75,000 that was from the pit or something, maybe using some of that money to getting us, getting us a new upgraded trailer.
Yeah.
That's where this all came about and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, absolutely. I mean, updating, you know, almost a 40-year-old trailer. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, it's been a good trailer. We ain't really had problems with it or anything like that, Eric. It just,
Except
so.
it never had certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that not a problem?
It is now.
I'm
That's
just
required.
asking,
Probably
yeah.
wasn't always required.
Right, back then, Sherry, it wasn't a
Wasn't
problem.
a
but-
part of the-
Right, it wasn't a part of the trailer system.
Okay.
So the tires, what really precipitated this conversation is the tires. So we gotta make some investments into this trailer if we want to keep it, basically. Just like anything.
And how many tons does it carry?
This one right here, I think it's hard to see the tag on it, Sherry, but I think it's 17 tons if I read it
So
right.
it's
Because I think
less than all
what
of
I
these.
found was 34,000 on it for GVW on it, so.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So it's under all of these,
Yeah, all these are, can carry a little more, and they'd be new.
just saying.
Well, I mean, I'm honestly open. Is the recommendation to get a new one or repair the old one, or what's better?
I would say the recommendation is we're coming into construction season, we're gonna need to move the excavator around. And it was brought to my attention last year during the flooding that the trailer's tired and we need to be able to move it. We can call and have somebody move the excavator for us every time we want to move it.
It's not super handy.
Not
It's
super
expensive.
handy, yep. But if we want to get this stuff done, we need to be able
Well, and
to operate.
is there gonna be a delay in the repair if we?
It's
decide
gonna be a
to
while
repair?
for us, Sherry, because he told, the company I talked to today said they're probably about a month out
And then
before they
how
could
long
take
does
the
it
trailer
take to-
and,
What's the time frame for if we chose to buy one instead of replacement?
they
Does
have
that
one in
take
stock.
Just as long?
We don't have to order it.
Sorry, did you say we have to order, we don't have to?
We would just go pick it up. So,
I
We
remember
just,
saying-
I'm sorry, you said we'd have to order it?
No,
or
we just go pick it up.
Pick it up?
Just go pick
So
it
you
up.
have it and
Yeah.
there's no waiting?
right.
So when do we need it?
We need it.
So why?
Or we
why
can
are
fix it. Or we can fix the one we have.
But that'll take a month or so,
Right.
so then we don't have it. I'm just trying to zero in on.
Okay, so-
like, we need it tomorrow or yesterday.
Mhm.
So what's the wisest thing to do? I mean, all of these carry a heavier load than the existing one even repaired.
Mhm.
And is everything heavier too? I mean, I just, you know.
We're just presenting-
What makes the most sense?
We're just presenting to you the information that we have and the need for equipment to do town operations. We can continue to run this current trailer the way it is and risk injury,
Yeah, I don't think
accident,
that's-
whatever.
yeah.
We've been advised that because it doesn't have the current safety equipment, probably not a good idea to run on the road. But ultimately, people calculate risk every day, and that's what we will continue to do. But we have a lot of stuff to do.
I think it makes sense to get a new trailer. It's just gonna get more expensive, and if we have the budget adjustment to cover it, then that's.
The brick, so the money that we allocated for brick was the 58, I think it was 58,000. 56.
Yeah.
There's other interests coming in to this budget adjustment money. So the budget adjustment money was given to us by the state to spend on flood response, but it couldn't be FEMA related.
Nothing that was getting FEMA reimbursed.
Nothing that was getting FEMA reimbursed. So the eligibility of that money to do,
And we have to spend that money this year, right?
well, it would go,
We should spend
should
it.
spend
We
it.
got it in fiscal year '24, and it's still sitting in unspent.
So my only question is about the four, I don't know enough about a couple of the dealers to know what the difference is. I don't know if there's a recommendation from Tom or Danny or somebody who's more, I only know CM Truck and Trailer, and they're pretty good, but it's a pretty big.
They're also the most
$10,000
expensive.
$10,000 price
Right.
difference, but
Yeah.
not all trailers are created equal, so it's just a question of which one
Right.
the town recommends or whoever recommends.
there's also, I'll just tell you, there's also an interest to use some of that budget adjustment money on emergency response equipment. So,
Such as,
cots,
oh, yeah.
potentially an enclosed trailer to hold our shelter in, to be able to move it if we need if we can't get to certain places in town, supplies for an emergency shelter. So there's needs all over the place. It's what we got to pick and choose where we want to make the investments, and I think it's important that we continue to be operational and safe. So this is why this is presented to you guys, because I can't make these decisions by myself.
Is there, of any of these four, is there one trailer that's particularly like, do you have feelings about one versus the other, or are they all basically?
They're all different types of trailers, or different name types, or different manufacturers, so I'm in the same boat you are. I don't know, one to the other. Charlie Boys, theirs is, the only difference in theirs, a little bit higher price, is that it's galvanized dipped. you know, so it protects a little bit better. The other ones are painted steel. And, the one for Beauregard's, of course, that's a little heavier one. That one's, you know, that one there is up in Maine anyways. And same thing with CMS trailer, or CMM truck and trailer. It's just, that's what they have, and their make, you know, whether it's a better make, I don't know.
Are they tilt deck?
No, none of them are tilt deck.
Okay.
Tilt deck, you're probably gonna add another $5-6 grand to it.
So what are they?
It's just a regular trailer with ramps that are probably, I think, like 3-4 feet long that you have to flop down.
Yeah. A deck over the wheels, the same as you have now, or?
Yes.
Can we, I mean, sometimes we do this where we say we can spend up to a certain amount on a trailer and then just have.
You can ponder on this until the next meeting if you want.
Well,
Except we don't have a functioning trailer.
I don't wanna, basically, my question is, I don't wanna just say, let's go with Lucky's trailer because it's the cheapest, and then find out it's actually not the trailer that we want. So I'm wondering if we can basically make a motion that says, you can spend up to 35 grand on a trailer and get whatever you want, that's gonna work, you know, like, galvanized is great, works really well, like, I don't know if, I don't have enough experience with trailers to say, let's go with Lucky's because it's the cheapest, if that makes sense, like, I don't wanna put us in that hole without really knowing enough about the, like, you're the one who's gonna use it, and you've got the expertise for it, so I'm wondering if we could just say, you have, it's gonna come out of this money, and you have up to whatever to decide on one of these. We've done that before, right?
We can also shop around for a used trailer, like we did last time.
Yeah, 'cause I know, Lucky said they don't have any used trailers. I asked them, they didn't have any used 20-ton trailers and stuff.
We had it for 20 years. It's pretty good.
I
So-
just want, oh, sorry, I was just saying, one other really quick thing is I think the cost of trailers is gonna go up probably pretty quickly, I think metal's gonna get expensive.
Well, everything in stock, we're fine. This is,
Yeah, I just don't wanna kick the can for too long, that's what I'm saying.
so I'd say, if it were my money, and some of this is, potentially, depending on where it comes from, I would pay an extra $2,000 to have it galvanized. 'Cause I think it would last longer.
Okay, well, you want a motion?
If they're the same,
Let's
I don't really know.
get it done.
Saw it today, it's good.
You did?
So I'll make the motion that.
yeah, I don't
you-
know whether it's, I don't know the make,
You just drive it back.
you know.
Oh. Get a bottle for it, man.
I looked at it, it's a good trailer.
So shall I make the motion that we, that
It
we,
would work for us.
Oh, absolutely.
okay. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it? Let's do it.
I'm not gonna
Okay, I'm gonna make the motion that we buy the Charlie Boy, even though that pronunciation is so terrible
It's French.
of the word.
Can we just do a dollar amount?
20-ton trailer, 31,342.
And we're using Budget Act adjustment funds for that?
Yeah,
If that's what you
Is
want to do.
that, well, is that,
the most,
could you include that in your motion then?
Oh, 'cause you want
could you
that to-
include that?
Is that what you want
Say
to do?
so moved.
I would like, yeah, I mean, I think,
Well, we haven't. We still
We
haven't.
haven't.
We've tried to
See
spend it.
now, one was
I
there.
gave it back to you, Dan.
So you want to include that in your motion?
Yes, can you just tell me what it should say?
approve the purchase of a new trailer up to $31,342 using the Budget Adjustment Act funds, or some of them, I should say.
So moved.
And you're still seconding.
I'm still seconding for the
Okay.
galvanized.
All right.
Okay, moving on.
And, all right, so all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for bringing this to us and figuring out we were paying for it. Next is item 8, select board to complete the PM1 for Heartbeat VCDP grant to authorize town manager to sign the grant agreement. So,
It's on the agenda every
seems like it, doesn't it?
The other one was like a resolution to apply, and this is like to sign the grant agreement. Oh, yes, I know.
And they just want to finish building their house
Yeah, so,
and pay for the two things that they need the money for.
Can we have a motion to adopt the grant agreement resolution, single grantee form PM1?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We need to sign. It's coming around. Next, item 9, select board to authorize entering into contract with VHB for the Mill Street scoping study. They're an approved vendor, the At the Ready program through VTrans, and also to authorize the town manager to sign a contract. This is a study we had a grant, spacing the grant.
MTAP?
MTAP, yeah,
MTAP.
it is MTAP.
No.
Transportation Alternatives Program.
Just
It's a
Just
tax.
TAP.
Just
yeah.
TAP.
Not municipal.
Drop the
Okay.
F.
Okay.
This is a V-Trans grant.
Transportation alternative, okay, great. And they're selected because the At the Ready ones don't need to go through.
So
process.
basically, V-Trans has a list of consultants that they've approved for this work. They provide us with the list. We take 3, read through their qualifications, and I think you, Tracy, Dave.
No, I wasn't part of it.
Oh.
Dave, Kristen, and you.
Dave, Kristen, and me, that's right, for this one. Read through the different consultants. We chose VHB for this particular project. We send a RFP for directly to VHB.
Mhm.
VHB provides this proposal to us. We decide if we want it or not.
Yep.
So that was the whole
Yep, that's how we got here.
process of choosing a contractor, consultant.
Great, so,
And a year later, here it is on there.
and I thought the proposal, was
Yeah,
okay.
they're perfectly capable of doing the work.
Yeah, and we have the money to do it through the grant.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion
Motion
to authorize the town manager? to sign the
Oh,
contract?
sorry. So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We'll likely go through the same process for a project in East Hardwick in the near future.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, makes sense.
So we'll get good at it. We're
Next
honing our
case.
skills.
Next, Casey's gonna give us a quarterly budget update. Yeah, I guess so. Casey, don't take offense.
Kristen's still here.
Sorry. Okay. So this is through March 31st. So essentially, we should be at 75%. We're actually slightly ahead of schedule, but it's primarily because of the $394,000 we received for the 2023 flood, which, I mean, we spent last year, and so we're just essentially getting it back, but it's counted in this year. Grant revenues over budget, some of those smaller grants we didn't budget for. A couple other areas, miscellaneous revenue because of the return from Hardwick Area Community Coalition. And then we have interest revenue is $111,000. As I think I've mentioned before, at the end of the year, that gets split out among other funds. So it won't all stay in the general fund. Some of it belongs to water and sewer capital and library building and all that such thing. And then we had our sale of real estate, but that's kind of a wash because we spent it on the gravel pit, most of it. So yeah, basically if we assume that we've collected 75% of our expected tax revenues, we would actually be about at 90% right now. So we're definitely on track to meet our revenues. Any questions on that?
That was good, makes sense.
All right, just move down here to expenses. I can't really, just leave it there. So basically, we are showing 86% when we should be at 75. But, you know, part of that is flood. And so highway is at 83%, but we are basically done with winter expenses such as salt. So there's not too much of a concern there. appropriations are paid out as entities request the funds, and I can tell you that the next report will be 100, or would be 100 now, because they've all since requested them, because I reached out and said, let's get this on the road. So we had 7 more, they're all paid out now. And then if we assume that we'll get 75% of our flood expenses back, we would be at 79%. So we're right there. And because we're gonna be a little over on our revenue, a little bit over on expenses, it's okay, it'll be okay. There isn't anything concerning, I guess is what I would say. Like, yes, we're, without the flood. Yeah, without the flood is 75%, and then if you look at our match for the flood expenses, it would be 79. So we're right there.
So I noticed that someone overruled the town manager and paid the county taxes.
No, he signed off eventually.
They thought I'd play by the rules, like everybody else.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, things are
Did you send a
doing
note
right.
with the check? at least?
No, but I'm gonna go to the next budget meeting that they have.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Casey, when we, thank you for sending me the fund balance information. I know it's not necessarily part of this, but it's all connected. Just so I understand, when money goes back into the fund balance, typically at the end of the fiscal year, right?
When everything's been
Well,
all,
It's only, right?
Yeah, it's only once. That's like, because you could take a snapshot at any point during the year, but
You don't know.
it changes from day to day as we spend money and get money in, so.
Do you have a general amount that's often put back in,
No, it totally depends on the year, but we had a few years where we benefited from fuel prices being lower than expected, or milder winters, and so we had less salt and whatever, and those were the years where we ended up just putting back in more, sometimes a couple $100,000 depending. But basically, I mean, because we have that FEMA revenue, essentially at the end of the year, if your revenues exceed your expenses, you're gonna add to the fund balance. If your expenses exceed your revenues, you're gonna pull from the fund balance, essentially, is the way it works. And so, I guess my general prediction is that we'll probably add some to it this year, which is good, because I do wanna bring up in new business a really quick thing about fund balance, or I guess I could do it right now, but it's just that we have a fund balance policy, and with all the commitments that we've made, we're sort of going against our policy right now. It's a guideline, but basically we strive to have 15% of our budget. And if you look at what our fiscal year 26 budget is at 4.4 million, and you look at what we've committed, assuming we didn't add anything, we'd be at 8%. So we're it's something we should consider revising probably if we're gonna go that low.
Doesn't the auditor have some recommendation around 10% or something?
I'm not sure. I don't remember. I just pulled up the policy today, and it just says and I think ours is super conservative because it says we shoot for 15 but would like to have 20 or something like that. Maybe it's 10 and then 15, but we probably need to look at something lower.
The auditor that recommended
10% seems more reasonable, because 10% for us would be 440,000, and so I think we should look at revising our fund balance policy.
Have what fund balance?
Yeah.
Just not doing.
Because right now we're sort of,
I would recommend that we start using our policy.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying I'm not sure 15% is realistic anymore. When I started here 6.5 years ago, the budget was 3 million, and now it's 4.4 in 7 years. So, 15% then it's just different. I feel like maybe 10% is more realistic. 10.
So really, the policy should be followed during budget time, when we pull money out of the fund balance to offset taxes. So that's where the policy should be followed. So it's not a day-to-day policy.
Right.
This is a budgeting policy.
But it also is a policy that when we're committing funds to the fund balance, we should be checking what our percentages are.
We're not committing funds to the fund balance.
Committing funds out of the fund balance.
The pedestrian bridge, the 200,000 and the 150 for the repeater.
Yeah.
Those are the two big ones right now.
So is that, Casey, is that 389 with those credits?
So we wouldn't be able to do, not, excuse me,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be quiet.
No, don't, please.
So those are the reasons that we have 10 to 15%. That's why you have 10 to 15%.
Also because stuff just costs more.
But if you don't have it, then we wouldn't have had it. If we'd have started with 8 and we'd just taken that 450 out, we'd be down to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
So-
also used it for the.
Right
flood.
here, so like.
We haven't borrowed any money.
Right
for
here,
flood
so
repairs.
that was our ending, the 739,000 at the end of '24. And we have those two big commitments right now, and this is a possibility, but that may be somewhere else. So basically, if you take that, it would be 8% of our fiscal year '26, and the policy says we want to have 15. So we're lower than we say we want to be at.
But I tend to agree with Danny on this, that it's nice to have a healthy fund balance when.
Oh, it helped
You
us with the
It's a
flood
whole lot, yeah.
tremendously, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's not really a lot we can do about it, other than checking.
Stop
Right,
robbing.
other than.
Yeah.
being consistent.
Well, so it'll be interesting to see how we end '25, and I think we're gonna add to it.
So if we get some FEMA money back,
so-
flood money back, that'll help it.
It's coming in, but we only have 10 projects for
Right, I'm saying
24.
that will help, I think
Yep.
that would get us maybe back to 10 anyway.
10%. Yep,
Yep.
yep.
About a year ago, I think it was about a year ago, we had the healthiest fund balance in the state.
Yeah, because we're over $1 million, yeah.
Right, that was caused by the anomaly of, we don't need to bring that up back up, but.
Right.
And when we had the discussion, when we made the policy, I distinctly remember us talking about 10% was the recommendation from the auditor, and we shot a little bit high so that we would maintain 10%. That was what we talked about. At least Eric and I, Jerry were here when we did that. So I don't think I want to change the policy. I think our goal was 15, we gave 10, and we have 8 right now. So we go
And
to,
hopefully we're coming back up to 10.
hopefully we get back to 10, and then we can go a little bit higher, then that's great. I don't think we will in the future, but the way things are going.
I guess what I was thinking is, like, I think right now it says 15 and 20. I feel like it needs to be 10 and 15.
Yeah, 15 and 20 is too much.
Because just, like I said, because 10% is 440,000, and then your 15% is like 600 something, which is closer to where we are. I don't think we should go below 10 either, but I think we might need to look at changing it to 10 and goal of minimum of 10, like to have 15 versus 15 and 20. I think it says, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yes. So just something to think
Well, we
about.
just confirm that and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that.
So, but yeah, other than that, so that's that. Any other questions for me?
No, it's good. It looks like we're more or less on budget, so that's great.
Okay. Zoom kicked us off because it was idle for 40 minutes, so, so I don't
Thank
have
you.
that anymore.
Casey.
Sure.
All right, so next is item 11, select board discuss public works project coordinator job description and advertisement. I only saw job description, not advertisement.
Yeah, we didn't end up putting that in.
Okay, so we're just discussing
because
job
we're, yeah.
We can put together an advertisement when we agree on the
Yeah.
job description.
Got it. My only comment, which I already, I think, said to Opie, was that it didn't see any specific call out of water and sewer. But then it is pretty lengthy already and includes, it reads as if it's a pretty big position, honestly.
Well, so when we say public works projects, like, doesn't that,
Well,
do
I
we
just noticed
consider
that-
water and sewer
I just
public
noticed that a
works?
lot of other specific things were called out, like
Yeah.
roads and, roads, bridges, stormwater systems, all forms of, but I just noticed that water and sewer wasn't called out in the same way that
Yep.
roads and bridges and stormwater.
Yeah.
not that that really matters. I mean, a job description is a great thing to have, but I think when you have an actual person in that position, then they're working in the direction of the town manager, basically.
Plus, because this is a brand new position, it may evolve and we may find we need to change the job description, especially when
Totally.
you're doing a brand new position. Yeah. So-
Thanks, Ramonda. I know last time we had a discussion about whether there should be managerial responsibilities in this position. I think my personal feeling is that I'm happy to leave that up to the town manager's discretion, how to manage the staff. I think Danny thought that this position really should be a supervisory position.
I thought this position should be a public works director, is what I thought. And we're getting a public works, and we're getting a project coordinator. It is what it is.
Well, we haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I feel like what I've heard from the staff is that the need is a lot of project management type work. A lot of the projects are public works projects, and I don't know, I think that this description reflects that.
I think it's better than the last one. I think it's more specific to like reading it as afresh. I think it's like you actually understand what it's for a person to do, which I think is good. I really like the specifics. And I thought in the position summaries, like I think that's pretty specific to the public works aspect of it. And then maybe some of the key responsibilities could be fleshed out, like you're saying, Danny, in terms of public works. But yeah, I think to me, it seems less like a project manager role than the last version, more like a public works, and that, as Casey said, can continue to be fleshed out because it's a totally new position.
I also thought that the qualifications were good, like this is what we would like, but we'll take anybody, like, we'll look at anybody who has a relevant experience, really.
And if there's an engineering piece in there, that'd be a plus, but we'd have to pay for it.
See who applies. Right. I mean, the engineering piece could be super valuable. I feel like we pay a lot of engineers to do stuff for us in the course of running it down.
Some of that engineering is covered in grants.
Yeah, it is. And some of it is sort of specific to certain domains.
Yeah. But for example, a paving project, grinding and elevations, so roads are sloped and run into storm drains a certain way. It takes supervision during the paving process and design and following elevations. All that work needs to be done ahead of time, from what I understand and what I've seen over the last couple of years.
The Better Connections presentation is a perfect example of a project that this position would essentially run, right? Like,
Well, another
overseeing.
piece of this is like project development. So we have this Creamery Road redevelopment project. Like that is a big project. That is bigger than the library project, bigger than the Yellow Barn project, more complex. It's 3 buildings with, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, site improvements. Like there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. And having somebody paying attention to that every day, on top of keeping other projects going is a role.
I agree. I mean, because it won't just be that. That won't be the only project running when that
No.
happens.
No.
There still will be
Yeah.
all kinds of other things happening.
I asked Casey the other day when she started, how many years ago did you
She said
start?
6.5.
Almost 7, yeah.
7 years ago, there were 10
Close.
grants you managed,
Yeah, I think it was probably like 10 or 12 maybe.
10 or 12 grants, and
It's like 40 right now.
then you were up to 68 at one point, right?
Yeah, we had over 60, like, in the last couple of years at one point.
So we're in a position, we're in a period of growth.
Can I ask a question for Danny, really?
You're asking me?
I'm
She's asking you
I don't know who I'm
if
asking. I've had
Kaylee-
a bit of long so what I'm
Is
hearing
it his hair?
is, no, your hair looks great. Kind of definitely better than mine. It sounds like all the projects most of the projects that you're listing, Opie, are public works projects.
Well,
So-
there's a yes, they are.
in my
That's what we
mind,
do,
it
that's the
is,
business we're in.
like,
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's the maybe that's the disconnect, is like, maybe we hear project a lot, but a lot of those, the super complicated projects are the public works projects. That's the sewer project, that's the water project, that's the stormwater project. So, Danny, what do you need in here
I'm good.
no, it's important.
I'm done. I'm done with this one. Move on.
All right, so I would like to see some, specific call out to water and sewer in here if we think
Yeah.
that's something that.
I got it, I noted it.
Okay, and,
We got time to keep working on this.
right, exactly. And then
Time is our best friend. Plenty of it.
sometimes,
Yeah, no?
sometimes things don't move at the speed you want them to.
Sure.
Okay, so that's great work on that. We'll see it again,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
Next is item 12, select board discuss water meter project. What's our plan for?
Okay, so I got a couple facts that I want to present, and then basically a sword that I'll fall on for this. Okay. So we have $135,000 in the water meter and line extension line.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's a capital? Okay.
Okay, and this was money that was when the reservoir up here was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
This is a little history, so everybody's on the same page, and that was set aside in, this was under John Jewett's tenure.
I don't remember if it was John or Sean's.
John or Sean, okay? So,
Sean, in the end.
okay, so, this is an RFP that needs to be put out. It's on our priority list. It's not something that I've put out. It's not something that I've prioritized to do. I should have prioritized to do this. We had like 2 or 3 meter pits when I first started. It took us 11 months to get meter pits delivered during the supply chain crisis. We currently have 12 meter pits. We have roughly 80 unmetered residents.
Do they all need meter pits?
No.
Okay.
I actually have a list, I'll give it to you, that over there on some of them, it says some of the lines need to be upgraded before they could get, a meter and stuff. So there's some over there, and there's some over there that I have that are already checked off.
Okay.
And then there's some more that are, part of, the buyouts and stuff like that are on there. I think
Okay.
today, I was counting somewhere around 60 some odd meter pits.
Okay. So it's still.
It's still,
sizable
yes.
numbers. Okay.
Most of them are all trailers, though everything that's on the list are all trailers.
Yes.
So, last 2 summers of flooding, sidelined some of this routine maintenance stuff. No excuse. Needs to get done.
So
I got handed the pedestrian bridge project, where the only thing that was done was they went out and found the money for it. That was it. So, and then the landscape architect died.
Yeah.
And that threw me for a loop coming into the position green. So like, this is my fault. We haven't gotten these pits in the ground. We need to do it. We all know that. And that's where we're at with this project. That's my update with this project.
I'm mostly interested in how we're gonna move forward, but I am, just one more question about the past. So, did we hire out all of the ones that got installed, or did you guys install some of them?
We installed some of them, Eric.
And did Ivan install some? Or am I dreaming
No.
that?
So,
Ivan helped
back,
with some of the.
back when the reservoir projects were done,
Yeah.
that money was set aside to put the meter pits out to bid,
Okay,
and they just sat idle.
okay.
But you guys installed the meters when we put them in, or were that?
No, that was all hired out, Danny, because you had to have a master plumber doing all that. That was licensed,
Yeah.
correct,
Because they were in
And
homes.
that was a contract.
right. So,
Did somebody from the crew come with that person?
That was,
most of the time, it was Brent going in
That's what-
with
yeah,
guys,
right,
but not
Right.
all the time.
Okay.
Some places it was because we had to be with him in order to shut off the valves outside so we
Right,
could
right.
install
Yeah.
meters inside the houses.
Yeah. And it
So-
also was helpful just because it was a familiar face for most
And it'll be
people.
the same way with the meter pits, you guys are still gonna have to be involved, even if there's a contractor doing the work.
oh, we're the
Yeah.
front, we're
Because
the,
Opie asked me today on how long it actually takes to install these.
Yeah.
And like I told him, I said, I've installed 3 in one day.
Okay.
And then we've installed 1 in one day. It all depends what we find in the ground, how wet it is, how deep it is, what kind of pipe they have, whether it's galvanized, plastic. You know, it's getting all these parts and pieces together and have them in stock, you know. And Kenny needs to upgrade some meters down there. He needs to order some more meters for the meter pits that we do have right now.
The meter pits is just like a box.
The meter pit is just like a box that goes straight down in a hole.
So for the contracted out, how does that look?
so we
Everyone's gonna be different, to Tony's point, I agree with him, everyone's a bag of work.
So how's somebody gonna bid on it?
Right, have to be an hourly deal or something.
Or do we want to do that, or is this something that your crew wants to do?
Well, we can do these,
Yeah.
but you gotta
You're doing
understand,
other
it's,
things too.
right, it's gonna take us a while to do them. I mean,
We got sidewalk grant that we've asked for extensions for 3 years that we need to get done. We've got
Right.
Bunch of mitigation stuff.
$170,000 worth of FEMA mitigation work that we have to get done.
We have so it sounds like that we have $135,000 saved. for
Correct.
this.
Yep.
So can we set it up to bid and see what?
See what we get.
Yeah.
So,
I,
I'm just wondering if this is the best project to go out to bid.
I'm wondering that too, because there's a,
I know we can find somebody to do sidewalk. I know, I absolutely know.
it just limits our number, how many feet we can go, which is fine.
Right, but what I'm saying is
Oh, maybe if we prioritize a road crew doing the meter pits,
well,
and let somebody
the
else do
meter,
sidewalks.
the water system is ours. It's trying to be tricky, because everyone's gonna be different. You're gonna deal with residents, there's just a lot of, it's not as easy as, here's the sidewalk we need to replace.
And it's all
Bid
above the
it.
ground.
Bid it and get it done. I don't know if that's even, it doesn't matter to me as long as we do something, but.
No, I see what
The
you're
water
saying.
meter one's gonna be a hard one, I think. Water pit's gonna be a hard one to get.
To get bids.
Well, it's gonna be a hard one to supervise, because
Yes.
I don't,
Because Tommy or Kenny are gonna have to be there anyway.
right,
so that takes,
Between the landowner and the water system being ours,
yeah,
you're gonna have somebody there. And if you
Coordination.
do that, you might as well have one more guy there with a backhoe.
yeah.
I mean, I watched them put the one in down to the community gardens, you know, out in the
Oh, there's one
out in the
down
middle of the field,
Yeah.
you know, easy digging, not too deep. It's no problem, but they're not all gonna be like that.
Yeah, because in my yard, there was a hole about this big in
In the water supply line.
in the line.
Right, and some of the lines are ancient, you're just gonna look at them and they're
Yeah.
gonna break and.
Yeah.
But we still need to hire a plumber though, right?
No, because they're
no,
not
no,
in the house.
no, the meter pit's outside, you don't have to have
I
a
was
licensed
incorrect
plumber
about
for
that.
it.
Oh, okay.
It's inside where you actually have the
I mean, you can do
light.
it, but I'm sure whoever does it, they're gonna wanna do, you know, by the hour.
I mean, to get it, yeah. What about the possibility, would it be helpful to hire, use some of that money to hire somebody, an extra person?
Hire a machine and hire an operator?
Correct.
I could do that.
I mean, is that maybe a way to
An
go?
operator.
And then,
Get dedicated to the project.
Or give someone something. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of heavy lifting and you
No.
need 6 guys. A
But-
machine, a good,
Somebody that's
machine and
efficient.
operator, and
and a
then,
around guy is all you need anyway,
right.
And then somebody to check in with the homeowner.
which would
Who's
be
leading?
the.
Well, we'd have to go around notify them.
Yeah.
You know,
That's-
hand out, do certain areas and then hand out notices saying, we'll be up around this area for, you
And
know,
I-
X amount of time for this area here.
I think some sort of a release saying that we can come on your property and dig, and if that's
Yeah.
covered in the ordinance, I don't know what the complexities are around that.
Well, we own to the shut off.
Right, but this is,
Most of them are right next to the roadway.
But we have to be behind the shut off, right?
I mean, I guess we gotta get eyes on these 60 locations, so maybe that's,
Well, the majority of them is, up around Glenside. Every one of those trailers up around that area, up through there.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, there's gotta be 30 up there.
yeah.
And then there's the other ones that just scattered.
So this is, here lies the complexity, but it's something we can,
Put together a plan.
yeah, it needs to be coordinated. Because if it's not coordinated, then it's inefficient, and then we spin our wheels.
We're getting a new project
I was just gonna
coordinator, so
say that.
We're gonna be all set there.
Well, and as I say, without this person though, like the capacity to get this along with all of the mitigation work done this summer, we have such a short window of decent weather to get all this stuff done. And there's a boatload of culverts to be upgraded and,
I think we should have at least and we talked about this when we were setting the rates, like an annual goal. Ideally, you do all 60, but if you know that there are 30 up there, maybe that's the goal for this year.
I mean, we have a
We're just-
dozen in the shop.
We've got a dozen in the shop. Let's just do the 30 up there, we'll do that area this year, that's half. That's half of the 60 that we're talking about. And then maybe next year it's all the outliers.
Can we,
I would definitely start with the biggest group and
That are closest together.
closest together.
are the supplies available?
Hmm?
Do we know can we get the meter pits?
We have them. We have a dozen.
more.
We have a
Yeah,
dozen.
I think
We
we
have
can.
12
I say
that
we
we
get, try
got
to
late
get the
last
dozen
fall.
in.
So that,
Yeah, start there.
I'm telling
I
you.
would like to
Start
know
there.
what the equipment cost is for a meter. You know,
Yeah, how much is the pit, how much is
How
the
much,
meter?
how much are the supplies, how much
Yeah.
is the?
Well, if I remember off my head, Danny, between the meter pit and a meter, the cover, I think we were pretty close, between $1,700 to $2,000.
That makes sense.
Just for
Because
that, and
it's
that doesn't
11.
include, you know, if we need to put a new stand box in, because that one's rotted off at the bottom, so it'd be a good time to do that, or what we're dealing with their pipe and what we need for fittings and stuff.
Yeah,
So
but
let's-
that's fine, because that,
So if you rounded that up, $2,200 to $2,500 for each.
What's that?
It's after 8. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
I have to go.
see ya.
Good luck with it.
So that's 54 with the 135,000 if you allocate $2,500 per pit, 54 pits. So you could probably, I think
Just
that's
the supplies.
just the $2,500 per pit,
54 is, sorry,
54 meter pits, 54 locations.
cost how much?
That's the
135,000.
135,000. Huh?
So we burn that 135 just doing the supplies
we're gonna
for,
burn 135, oh, yeah, things burn.
just doing the supplies for,
I don't think that, though.
for 54 pits
Yes, you're gonna burn that money up.
without.
Without an operator, without another guy, without
30
anything.
pits up in that
Right.
hill, because we have to get an operator and equipment, yeah, so. I'd say just let's get started somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah,
Well,
I agree,
Let's do the
I
12.
agree.
let's get to 12 on the ground.
And I would just go with it, see if we can get a contractor to do the digging.
Well, it's like sidewalks. Sidewalks don't take us all day.
That's fine too. I was just using that as an example.
Yeah, I know you were.
Less complex.
Right.
project.
It does seem like this is gonna be, it would be a hard thing for
Well,
somebody to do.
it's not really if you know, you should be able to hire an operator and then one of these guys,
What
No,
we
that-
need
that makes a lot more
is
sense.
a focused team of 2.5 people to get this done.
Yeah,
Great.
And I can
Follow me to
and
this.
just say, this
manage
is,
that one.
this is your project for, a week or something. or-
Because I know right now, between now and the end of June, I probably should have brought this up during my spiel there.
Oh,
I
this is
mean,
a piece.
We got guys going on vacations.
Yep,
So we're gonna have 2 guys gone, 1 week, might have 1 guy, next week you might have 2, because they're gonna overlap each
Yeah.
other all the time. But,
yep.
so,
And I'm going on vacation from May 1st to August 31st.
Perfect.
Maybe we get something done.
All right, so, all right. Can you guys commit to, it doesn't have to be the next meeting, but maybe the.
We'll get a
one
plan together.
After, get some sort of rough plan. It doesn't mean we have to hit every deadline on it, but just be like, this is a time, we think we could, we think we have the staff during this window, and we think we can do
Shoot
this
for a
many.
couple of days, so the
Yeah.
contractor, you can tell him what he's gonna expect to do, take a couple of days.
Yeah.
If you get it, you don't, some days,
Right.
average couple of days.
Right. That'd be
I
great.
mean, that's 100 days' work
Wow.
without rain.
without rain or complications.
Or equipment failures or.
Yeah.
So anyway, just get started.
Yep.
Okay,
That's reasonable.
that's great.
Can handle that.
Okay.
What's next?
Next is select board reports.
Pending no
Municipal
flooding.
Business.
Pending no flooding this
Pending no,
summer.
there is no flooding on
I
July 10th.
have, select board report, they
You do?
yeah.
I thought we weren't gonna have any. 'cause-
Hardwick Bay Rail Trail.
Oh, yeah. What's happening over
Jeff
there?
Perry has asked me to, he wants to get the rail trail back where it belongs, off his driveway. And
He came to the office.
Did he? I told him he needed to come see.
I told him who to contact.
Who?
VASA and VAST.
No.
And they can just move the trail back where it was. And if they run into problems,
No.
they can come.
All right.
I showed him the file. I mean, I don't,
It's that's a town deal.
So as I recall, that,
but the trails were there, right, already? I want to know a little history because I
Yeah.
pulled that file.
What do you want to know?
What Jeff told me is he wants the trail moved back where it was.
Yep.
And if the trail was there was an agreement in place
Yep.
with VASA and VAST.
No, with the town of Hardwick.
But
so here's the issue.
we can't, what are our rights on,
Because we had a legal document drawn up.
Okay.
So one of the things that's unique about this, if I can interject, about this particular section of that particular trail, I believe, is that the town actually owns the land. It's not a right of way. Like, we own it.
So we can give VAS and VASA permission to put
So
the
So
trail
there's a
in.
more- it's a
management
little more
plan,
complicated.
there's a lease, and
Okay.
there's a management plan, and there's a document that Davies put together
Okay.
between Alfred Willie, because he's encroached on, with his house on our land.
Right,
And
As-
in order for us to allow him to stay there,
yeah.
there was a legal agreement drawn up that we could go around the perimeter, 10 feet around the perimeter, or 12 feet, whatever it was.
Okay, I have that.
Around the perimeter of his property.
So that's in
He
perpetuity?
has 2 choices. I believe the document, when you find it, will say it's 100 years.
Yeah,
Because that's when we got all the leases signed and everything, and everything was done on a 100-year deal. He has 2 options. Either the trail goes straight through, or the trail goes around his property. He gets to choose.
Well, because we're giving him the choice.
Because we're giving
Because
him
we
the
actually
choice.
own the land that goes
Right.
straight through.
Right.
okay.
And as far as VAS and VASA and.
So it sounds like
VAS
everything's
and
in
all
place
that,
to do it.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
should be.
There is, absolutely. Except somebody's gotta do it, and it's VAST and VASA, and you as a bike rider, and you as a hiker. In the lease, in the management plan, I'll have access to that solely by having a representative on the rail trail committee. All responsibilities are the town of Hardwick.
Okay.
All
But it sounds like the
Yeah.
responsibilities have been already put in place. with that lease.
I agree.
So,
Well, so, the lease, the first lease I spoke of was the lease of the ground. As that progressed, it was discovered that through an old tax sale, the town of Hardwick actually owns the Hardwick section. Town of Woodbury still leases
Right.
from Swenson, the
Yep.
Woodbury section.
Yep.
So, the town of Hardwick owns that.
And it continues across the
Goes
road
across
over
through
to
that
Hardwick
double wide,
Electric.
all the way to Route 14.
okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where that documentation is.
It's in the file.
I mean, that's, so essentially, that someone from the town of Hardwick, and I guess I'm not doing a very good job here, because as a representative for the Hardwick River Trail, I'm not really that excited about having to go down there and deal with Alfred again. Now, when I say responsibility, you know, it's a partnership, so the responsibility, the ownership is the town's, but VAST and VASA have always been, VASA has always been the one that's put the work into it, physical work into it.
In terms of physically putting the trail back
Gravel,
over.
we built
Yeah.
it, we rented 30-yard dumpsters and excavators and went down there and cleaned out. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
there's rats down there bigger than Opie. When we went down there was so much junk in there. And then we paid and constructed a fence, because that was the deal with Alfred, is we had to have a fence on the inside, and then Pat and Wine come, so we had to have a fence on the outside.
Won't be any patent wine.
No, there won't, and Jeff's doing the right thing in dealing with it, because he can't have it, it's his driveway now.
Right.
His commercial driveway, so, the only reason it went down there is once the town acquired
Mhm.
the land, it was easier and there was no solution, you know, we didn't have any idea what we were gonna do with that property, so it was a good thing to do at the time. So somebody needs to go to say, Alfred, we're gonna put the trail back here, and that's gonna be a difficult, because he's already moved all his stuff back on.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We're gonna have to start all over again.
Okay.
Well, I think all the legal documents are in place.
You know, the legal, I'm not, he's worried about the legality of it.
Right.
I know for a fact I was there, I was awake, I was paying attention, I was sober even. So I know what happened, that's not a question. Dealing with Alfred can be challenging.
Well, I deal with challenging people every day.
Yeah, no, Alfred's a good guy, I like him a lot, he just doesn't, he listens to the wrong people. You know that, you hear, I see it all the time, people in his ear saying, do this. And you talk about something, you simmer him down, and the next morning I wake up and he's sitting in my driveway in his car, waiting for me to come out of the house so he can talk to me again. Because somebody told him that Danny Hale was wrong. And we have to go right back to square one, over again. So if it's me that's gonna do it, I'll be the one to move forward.
I can,
Just, I would like you to approach it and see, as far as physically getting it done, I can get hold of, we can get.
I think Jeff will help.
Jeff will help.
He said he would. He said he would.
Yeah, he would, he told me he would, and he's doing it because he needs to, it's his business now. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and it's right in his driveway.
That's all completely
So,
understandable.
let me know if I can help on that one. The other report is I was at Bassett today, and they're itching to get Bright Farm Road finished up, but the wood didn't get cut, so I don't know why everybody's surprised, but yeah.
I was told it did.
I was in Tardis today at great length, and it's not completed, now it's muddy, and
So some of it got cut.
some of it, I guess, did, yeah.
Okay. On the upper half, or?
I
Well, I guess I need to go up there and check it
I
out.
didn't ask, but right now it's mud season, obviously, it isn't time, it should have been cut in the middle of winter. Not good, but
Well, it was a snowmobile trail in the
it
middle
is
of
what it
winter.
is, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, it needed to be, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And, that's, aren't you, that's the report.
Wow. That's way more than you usually have.
Well, I know it comes at once.
Yeah.
I heard Jeff jump in and then he jumped today, so.
There you go.
So, yeah, do it again.
Any other reports, new business or old business? All right, let's adjourn. Thank you all.